respected. If you have ever set a goal with fire in your heart, only to watch it slowly fade under the weight of doubt, fear, or distraction, this message is for you, because today might be the moment your brain finally learns how to work for you instead of against you. Let me begin with a simple truth that changed my life and the lives of millions of people around the world. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not lacking discipline. You have simply never been taught how your brain is designed to set, pursue, and achieve goals. And once you understand that, everything changes. Think about the last goal you set. Maybe it was to improve your finances, your health, your career, or your relationships. In the beginning, you felt excited. You could see the future clearly. You promised yourself this time would be different. But then life happened. Old habits crept back in, motivation dropped, and quietly, without even realizing it, your brain pulled you back to what was familiar, safe, and predictable. That is not failure. That is biology. Your brain's primary job is not to make you successful. Its job is to keep you safe and conserve energy. Anything new, anything unknown, anything that stretches you beyond who you've been before, your brain interprets as a potential threat. So, when you set a big goal, your conscious mind says, this is exciting, but your subconscious mind says, this is dangerous. And the subconscious always wins, unless you learn how to work with it. I remember early in my life when I was struggling financially, emotionally, and mentally. On the surface, I wanted success. I wanted freedom. I wanted to achieve big goals. But deep down, my brain was wired for survival, not growth. Every time I got close to a breakthrough, something would happen. I would procrastinate. I would sabotage. I would get distracted. And for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. Then I discovered something that shifted everything. Your results are not controlled by your wishes. They are controlled by your conditioning. From the moment you are born, your brain is programmed by experiences, repetition, emotional moments, and the environment around you. Every belief you hold about money, success, confidence, and even your own worth was learned. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned and rewritten. This is where real goal setting begins. Not with writing something on paper and hoping for the best, but with understanding who you are being while you are trying to achieve what you want. Most people set goals from their current identity. They say, based on who I am today, what do I think I can achieve? But extraordinary achievers do the opposite. They decide who they must become first, and then they build goals that align with that future self. Let me ask you something important. Who do you believe you are right now? Are you someone who finishes what they start? Are you someone who follows through even when motivation is gone? Or are you someone who has learned through years of disappointment to expect less from yourself? Be honest, because your brain already knows the answer. Your self-image is the thermostat that controls your life. If you try to set goals far beyond how you see yourself, your brain will automatically pull you back to what feels normal. That's why willpower alone never works long-term. Willpower is conscious effort, and conscious effort is limited. Identity is automatic, and automatic always wins. This is why the first step to achieving any goal is not action. It is awareness. You must become aware of the invisible patterns running your life. The thoughts you repeat, the emotions you feel when you think about success, the story you tell yourself when things get hard. Because every thought you think strengthens a neural connection in your brain, and every repeated thought becomes a habit of identity. Your brain is a prediction machine. It constantly looks at your past to predict your future. So if your past is filled with unfinished goals, your brain predicts more of the same, not because you can't succeed, but because familiarity feels safe. Now here is the breakthrough. The moment you set a goal and emotionally connect to a future that excites you, your brain begins to rewire. When you imagine your future vividly, when you feel it, when you see yourself living it, your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. The same neural networks activate. This is not positive thinking. This is neuroscience. When you repeatedly rehearse your future in your mind, you create new neural pathways. And the more emotional intensity you add, the faster those pathways grow. Emotion is the glue that makes memories stick. That's why painful experiences shape us so deeply. But the same mechanism can be used intentionally to shape your future. Most people visualize once and quit. High performers rehearse daily. They don't wait to feel motivated. They train their brain to expect success. And here's the most powerful part. When your brain begins to see your goal as familiar, it stops resisting. Instead of fear, you feel curiosity. Instead of procrastination, you feel movement. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information, starts noticing opportunities, people, ideas, and resources that were always there, but invisible to you before. It feels like luck, it feels like alignment, but it's actually your brain finally working in harmony with your vision. So, if you've ever wondered why some people seem to move forward effortlessly while others struggle for years, the difference is not intelligence, talent, or even hard work. The difference is neural programming. And the beautiful truth is this: no matter how old you are, no matter how many times you've failed, no matter how long you've been stuck, your brain is plastic. It can change, it can grow, it can be rewired starting today, but only if you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to set goals in a way that your brain actually accepts, how to turn intention into clarity, and how to align your daily actions with the future you want instead of the past you're trying to escape. Before any real change happens in your life, something subtle but powerful must shift inside you. Most people believe goals fail because of lack of effort, lack of time, or lack of support. But the real reason goals collapse is because the brain never received clear instructions. Your brain is not inspired by vague wishes. It is activated by clarity. Think about this for a moment. When you say, "I want to be successful," what does that actually mean to your brain? Successful compared to whom? Successful doing what? Successful by when? The brain cannot act on ambiguity. Ambiguity creates hesitation, and hesitation creates inaction. This is why clarity is not a luxury. It is a biological requirement. When I first learned this, I realized that for years I had been setting emotional wishes, not neurological targets. I wanted more money, more freedom, more confidence, but my brain had no map, no destination, no timeline, and without those, it defaulted back to what it already knew. Your brain needs a destination that is so clear it can recognize when you're moving toward it or away from it. It needs specificity, because specificity creates focus, and focus creates momentum. Here is the shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" ask, "What exactly will my life look like when I achieve this goal?" See it in detail. Where are you waking up? What time do you start your day? How do you feel in your body? What conversations are you having? What problems are no longer present? What new responsibilities do you carry? When you define a goal at this level, something remarkable happens. Your brain starts treating it as a real destination instead of a fantasy. And now comes the part most people miss. A goal without emotional attachment is just information. A goal with emotion becomes a mission. Emotion is the fuel system of the brain. Logic may help you decide, but emotion determines whether you follow through. That's why fear can stop you instantly, and excitement can push you beyond exhaustion. So, the question is not just what you want, but why you want it. Why does this goal matter to you? What pain does it solve? What possibility does it unlock? Who else benefits when you succeed? When your goal is connected to something deeply meaningful, your brain releases dopamine, the motivation chemical. Dopamine is not released when achieve the goal. It is released when you move toward it. That means motivation is not something you wait for. It is something you generate through purposeful action. This is why tiny actions matter so much more than massive plans. Your brain is a reward-based system. Every time you take a small step toward your goal and acknowledge it, your brain learns this behavior is valuable. Over time, motivation becomes automatic. But if your goal feels overwhelming, your brain does the opposite. It shuts down, it procrastinates, it seeks comfort. Not because you're weak, but because overwhelm signals danger. So you must break the future into pieces the brain can digest. Ask yourself, what is the smallest action I can take today that moves me closer to my goal? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. When you do this consistently, you train your brain to associate progress with safety instead of stress. And that is when habits begin to form. Now let's talk about identity, because this is where goals either become permanent or temporary. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. When you skip a commitment, you reinforce the identity of someone who doesn't follow through. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen the identity of someone who can be trusted. Goals achieved once are events. Goals achieved consistently are identities. So instead of saying, "I want to achieve this goal," begin saying, "I am becoming the kind of person who achieves this goal." That shift may sound small, but to the brain, it is massive. Because now every action is not just about results, it's about self-image. And the brain will work very hard to stay consistent with how it sees itself. This is why discipline becomes easier over time. Not because life gets easier, but because your identity becomes stronger. And here is a powerful truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your self-image, so your daily rituals matter more than your big plans. How you start your morning, what you focus on, what you tell yourself when things go wrong. These moments shape your neural wiring far more than occasional bursts of effort. In this stage, your job is not perfection. Your job is consistency. Consistency tells the brain, this is who we are now. And once the brain accepts that identity, resistance fades. What once felt hard begins to feel normal. What once felt impossible begins to feel expected. In the next part, I will show you how to overcome the internal resistance that shows up right when you're about to change, how to handle fear, doubt, and setbacks without losing momentum, and how to reprogram your response to challenges so they no longer stop you. There is a moment in every meaningful journey where the excitement fades and reality steps in. The goal is still there, the vision is still clear, but something inside you starts to resist. Old doubts resurface. Fear whispers familiar stories, and progress begins to slow. This is not a sign that something is wrong. This is a sign that something is working. Whenever you attempt to change your future, you activate the part of the brain designed to protect the past. The subconscious mind does not care about your dreams, it cares about certainty. And certainty is built from repetition. So when you step into unfamiliar territory, the brain sounds the alarm. It does this through emotion. Suddenly you feel tired, distracted, unmotivated. You start questioning whether the goal is realistic, whether you deserve it, whether this is the right time. These feelings feel personal, but they are mechanical. This is the moment most people quit. Not because they can't succeed, but because they misinterpret resistance as failure. What if instead you saw resistance as confirmation too? You are reprogramming your brain. Think of it like going to the gym for the first time. Your muscles resist, they ache, they burn. Not because exercise is harmful, but because growth requires stress. Neural growth works the same way. The discomfort you feel is your old wiring being challenged. The key is not to eliminate fear. The key is to reframe it. Fear does not mean stop. Fear means pay attention. Your brain is asking, is this safe? And your response must be calm, consistent, and intentional. When you continue taking small, aligned actions despite fear, you teach your brain a powerful lesson. You show it that growth is not dangerous. This is how courage is built, not in moments of confidence, but in moments of uncertainty. Let's talk about setbacks, because no meaningful goal is achieved in a straight line. Setbacks are not proof that you are going backward. They are feedback. They show you where your strategy needs adjustment, where your skills need sharpening, and where your mindset needs strengthening. But the way you interpret setbacks determines whether they make you stronger or stop you completely. Most people personalize setbacks. They say, this happened because I'm not good enough. But high performers depersonalize them. They say, this happened because I tried something new. When you separate your identity from your results, you free yourself to learn instead of judge. Your brain learns best through curiosity, not criticism. Self-criticism activates the threat response. Curiosity activates the learning response. So when something doesn't work, ask better questions. What can this teach me? What did I overlook? What would I do differently next time? This keeps your nervous system regulated and your momentum intact. Another challenge that stops people is emotional conditioning from the past. Many people carry emotional memories of failure, embarrassment, or rejection, and when they pursue a new goal, the brain replays those old memories as a warning. It's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you from repeating pain. But protection based on the past can sabotage the future. The moment you recognize this, you regain power. You can say to yourself, that was then, this is now. I am not the same person. Every time you respond differently to an old trigger, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen a new one. This is how emotional freedom is built. You are not your past reactions. You are the one who chooses the next one. Now here is a critical insight. Your environment either reinforces your future or pulls you back into your past. Your brain is highly influenced by what it sees and hears repeatedly. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in. These inputs shape your expectations and your behavior. If your environment constantly reminds you of who you used to be, changing becomes harder. Not impossible, but heavier. This is why intentional exposure matters. Surrounding yourself with stories of growth, voices of possibility, and examples of success trains your brain to normalize achievement. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You just need enough reinforcement to stay aligned, and most importantly, you must learn to recover quickly. Progress is not about never falling, it is about how fast you get back up. When you miss a day, don't miss two. When you make a mistake, don't turn it into an identity. Self-compassion is not weakness. It is a performance strategy. A regulated brain learns faster, adapts better, and stays engaged longer. In the final part, I will show you how to lock this process in long term, how to turn goal achievement into a lifestyle, and how to live from a place where growth becomes natura. L, not forced. There comes a point in your journey when achieving a goal stops being about effort and starts being about alignment. This is the moment when the habits you once had to force begin to feel natural, when the actions that once required discipline now feel like part of who you are. This is not an accident. This is integration. When you repeat a thought, an emotion, and an action long enough, your brain no longer sees it as change. It sees it as identity. And identity is where lasting transformation lives. Most people stop too early. They see some results, feel some relief, and unconsciously relax. But the brain, if not reinforced, will always drift back toward the familiar. This is why true mastery requires maintenance, not intensity. You don't win the battle once. You train the system daily. This does not mean obsession or burnout. It means awareness. It means checking in with your thoughts, your focus, and your emotional state regularly. Because your inner world is constantly shaping your outer results, one of the most powerful practices you can develop is mental rehearsal. Every day, take a few moments to see yourself living in alignment with your goals. Not striving, not struggling, but being. Feel the calm confidence of someone who follows through, the grounded certainty of someone who trusts themselves, the quiet pride of someone who keeps promises to themselves. When you do this, you are not escaping reality. You are training your nervous system for it. And T. Hen comes action. Simple, consistent, aligned action. Success does not require heroic effort. It requires direction and repetition. The compound effect of small intentional actions over time is unstoppable. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of doubt. But now, instead of stopping you, they become signals. Signals to slow down, adjust, and continue. This is what it means to live from vision instead of reaction. Your goals are no longer something you chase. They become something you expect. And here's the deepest truth that most people never realize. Achieving your goals are not necessary. You are already worthy. Achieving your goals reveals who you become when you believe that. The confidence you are seeking is not at the finish line. It is built with every aligned choice you make along the way. When you look back one day, you won't just be proud of what you achieved, you will be proud of who you became in the process. The person who learned to trust themselves, the person who faced fear and kept going, the person who stopped waiting for permission and started leading their own life. This is how goals change lives, not because of the outcome, but because of the evolution. And that evolution is available to you now, not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now, because the moment you decide to work with your brain instead of fighting it, everything begins to move in your favor. Before we end this journey together, I want you to pause for Jay. Us a moment and breathe. Not because the story is over, but because something inside you has already shifted. If you listen closely, you'll notice that this was never really about goals. It was about you, about remembering that you are not a victim of your past, your habits, or your circumstances. You are the architect of your future, and your brain is the most powerful tool you will ever own. Every goal you've ever set and walked away from did not fail because you were weak. It failed because you were unaware. And awareness changes everything. When you understand how your brain works, when you respect its need for safety while guiding it toward growth, you stop fighting yourself and start leading yourself. From this moment forward, you no longer need to wait for motivation to appear. You create it through clarity, emotion, and action. You no longer need to fear resistance because you recognize it as proof that you are expanding beyond who you used to be. And you no longer need to doubt your ability to change because your brain is designed to learn, adapt, and evolve for as long as you are alive. The future you desire is not separate from you. It is being built quietly every day through the thoughts you choose, the actions you repeat, and the identity you reinforce. Small decisions made consistently will always outperform big intentions made occasionally. So, as you move forward, remember this. You don't need to become someone else to achieve your goals. You need to reto RN to the version of yourself that believes, commits, and follows through. That version is already within you, waiting for direction. Let today be the day you stop postponing your potential. Let today be the day you choose alignment over excuses, growth over comfort, and intention over reaction. Because when you decide who you are becoming and act in harmony with that decision, the world responds. And one day soon, you will look back at this moment and realize it was not just the start of a new goal, but the beginning of a new way of living.